What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today, in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called Liberte. This is a game with a rock-solid premise. Like, I can't even express to you how good the premise for this game is. And when you hear it, you're going to say the exact same thing, too. The premise of this game is that what if the French Revolution was not just a bunch of sociological forces and societal forces bashing into one another? What if it wasn't a story of class struggle? What if it was none of that? What if instead all the factions involved in the French Revolution were basically the manifestations of a conflict taking place between elder gods? And all of the emotion and all of the violence and all of the cruelty was sort of a manifestation of this extraplanar war that was happening, and like all of us were basically just like patsies in this great game. That's a really cool premise for a game. I like that a lot. Liberte is an action RPG that explores that idea. This is an action RPG that has roguelite influences, in fact, and so this is going to be a game where you're going to hack and slash your way through loads of enemies, you're going to level up a character, you're going to create a build, and when you die, it's going to send you back to the beginning, but along the way, you're going to do like these little tasks and these little quests and these little goals for the various factions, and there's going to be sort of like Hades-style conversations that you are privy to between these factions that are running into each other. And as you discover these things, you're going to unlock various factional bonuses and stuff like that that make your life easier on future runs. I don't know exactly how much time I've put into this game as of the 1.0 build that released this morning. I've played this game a couple times over the course of its early access development, never decided to make a video on it just because it wasn't ready for a video, in my opinion, so I'm diving back in here. I'm like a couple hours into the game. We're going to give it a shot, and I'm going to do my best to give you, I guess, my impressions of the game. Things I like, things that I don't like. I think I've more or less collected all my thoughts about the title. I'll try to put them together at the end of the video in a succinct way. But let's get moving. If after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, the game is currently on sale for $20, but it's discounted down to $17 as of right now, and this is the final 1.0 version. Down there you can also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream where we can hang out live. Let's go ahead and do this thing. So this is the beginning of the game right here. It controls very simply with W, A, S, and D. This is the goddess that we currently, I guess, serve as like her minion to go out into Paris and to like attack different forces and enact her will. I don't know exactly what she is right now, but I can tell you she doesn't seem entirely benevolent. I don't know what gave it away, the fact that she's melted into the wall and chained by a mountain, or the fact that she lives on top of a giant bone pool full of blood, but either way, I get the feeling that she's not entirely, I get the feeling that she's not benevolent. She may not be, she may not be evil, but she's definitely not good either. But this is our hideout. This is where we start out after we die. We can pick what skin we want to play as. There are multiple characters in this game. The multiple characters auto-attack and move a little bit differently from one another, and they tend to have different focuses. The main guy is kind of an all-around character. There's a girl that dual-wields pistols, sort of a Kimbo style, and fights sort of like it's a scene from Wanted. And then there's another bigger guy that's got like a two-handed weapon, but I haven't unlocked him yet. Let's head on out into the city because there's not really much to mess with right now. So we can choose what difficulty we want to play on. It's entirely up to you. I will say that the difficulties do get quite a bit harder. They increase the enemy density, they increase the HP, so I get the feeling that some of these higher difficulties are definitely wanting you to have some metagame progression done before you go there. The developers have said that the game's about 60 hours long. There's a lot of stuff to find. I would probably corroborate that because I've played for a couple of hours and I've only done 5% of the storyline. Whether or not the game's... Oh, there's voice acting now. Okay, well, I haven't played the game since the 1.0 came out this morning. I was playing it yesterday to get ready for the video, and there was no voice acting yesterday. Now there's voice acting.
Lies and deceit and darkness. That's what the tribe is, Ori. I've come here to stop your little masquerade. Cease your dark magic, the rites and whatnots. I can help you get pure.
You look around, mercenary. How can simple folk like us stand against your armors, guns, and sacred oils? My duties are to escort the souls of the dead and pray for them to the gods. I mean you no harm.
One of you brought these monsters to hunt us, so I've been brought to eradicate them. I'm planning to see this task through. By the way, do you control the bliss too?
I could show you, you know, what we do, what it all means. I'll wait to bid the farewell to those we have lost in the fight. It has nothing to do with the bliss.
Why all the hiding then? Why the bonfires, the skulls hanging around your waist, huh? I've seen too much of this shit, Seer, to be tricked here.
Not enough to have your eyes opened, I suppose.
Listen, you seem to be a reasonable person, Ori. Unlike your feisty fellow, Eli. If you don't step away from these shrines, we'll use force. The oils and guns and armors.
So be it, mercenary. We survived years of tyranny, so we can handle a bunch of dressed-up jesters with blindfolds.
Right. I see clearly who's who in this fight. And you still have time to turn to the right side. You know where to find me.
Goodbye, Victor. My dark magic is telling me that we will meet again. Sooner than you think.
So this is the way that the game's going to play out. It's divided up into runs. On each run, you have chapters. At the beginning of each chapter, you will be presented with 2 random factions out of 4 that are at odds with one another. You will be asked to support one of those factions. In supporting them, you will make this little meter fill up right here for the various factions, and you will unlock things as you get further and further along with the factions. Unfortunately, the process seems to be really slow, but the 4 factions are the Rebels, the Crown, the Church, and the Tribe. So basically, you've got Rebels, you've got the State, you've got the Catholics, and you've got, like, Voodoo. And you pick between the 4. Eventually, you're going to level all of them up. None of the factions really, in my experience, seem to have any recollection who you helped on the last run or anything else like that. It's kind of like Hades, where the gods don't remember who you favored run to run. It just kind of resets at the beginning. So let's pick. I'm going to go with the Church because he's got a cool trench coat and he's got a demon around his waist. Like, I just feel like I trust the guy with the demon around his waist more than I trust the lady with the flowers.
Want to help? Head down there and make sure no one gets any funny ideas.
We're going to be playing the range deck today. Deck, you're saying? Is there deck building in this game? There is, and the deck building happens prior to runs. So basically the way that this all works is as you kill enemies, you get XP. As you get XP, you will level up. When you level up, you draft a bunch of cards, and actually we drafted a bunch of cards for being level 1 right here. And of these cards, they've got a cost on the left-hand side. So if I burn or I install any of these abilities, it will cost me that amount. So let's say that I wanted to get Curve the Bullet. I could burn range skills. That's new too, how it confirms. Now that I've burned that, I've got 3 mana, so I can purchase Curve the Bullet, which is a range skill. And you can see it slotted on into my E key now. I could burn Aggressive Reload, and that would allow me to buy Old Cloth Scraps, which is a consumable that goes on my 1 key that allows me to heal myself. And as you can see, I can now actually effectively curve the bullet. This ability lets you fire a bullet that bounces to another guy after you fire it. Combat in this game has gotten better. One of my big complaints about this game when I was first trying to take a look at it to decide if I wanted to do coverage maybe like a year and a half ago was that the combat was very clunky. So, like, this game had all the pieces in the right place. It had a great art style. It had a really good soundtrack. It had kind of a cool idea with the deck building. It had an interesting premise. But it all kind of fell apart in the execution and the clunky combat. I'm happy to say that the combat is nowhere near as clunky as it was the first time that I played the game a year and a half ago. It has gotten better, but there are still some clunky remnants to it. This is not going to be a game that you're going to be able to pull the fluidity of something like a Hyperlight Drifter or a Hades out of. It's just not going to happen. Part of that is due to the fact that the game has 2 different run speeds that makes the game constantly feel like you're kind of in stop-go traffic. So if I swing my sword, I have to run slow for super long. And then after a second, he'll go back into fast run mode. I would have recommended that the run speed be identical whether you're in or out of combat no matter what. In fact, I think this faster run speed would have made the game feel quite a bit more fluid when you're fighting in combat, at the risk of making the game too easy. The other half of it is when you swing your weapon, there's a tiny delay before the attack goes off between when you click your mouse and when he actually swings. And then on top of that, there's no momentum to the swings except for the third one. I think if the first 2 swings had like a little crow hop to them that moved you slightly forward with each one, it would feel a little bit better as well. But the game does have reasonably clunky combat, in my opinion. Once you get a few abilities, it stops feeling that way. Because you're going to be using abilities a lot more than you're using the normal auto attacks. But nonetheless, the normal auto attacks I think could be smoothed up and feel a lot better. The way that enemies spawn is also pretty cheap looking, as you saw right there. Skull appears on the ground and then they just magically clip into existence, or they like pop into existence. I would have recommended doing something a little bit more immersive than that. It makes the game look a little bit cheap. Instead, what could have been done is, for example, in this battlefield, there's a bunch of water over here. Like, those guys could have exploded up out of the water like they were hiding and charged the player. Or, you know, there could have been a door right here that bangs open and they all kind of run out into the arena just as you get to, like, right here. Anything other than them just, like, magically appearing on the battlefield, I think would have looked better. Occasionally, enemies will drop loot. Silver can be used at various stalls that you'll find on the streets of Paris while you are running around. And so there are little villagers and things walking around. They react to you fighting. So if monsters were to spawn right here, they would all scream and run to cover, and there'd be ambient sound effects of people shouting and running for their lives. I liked that. I thought that was a pretty cool, immersive thing. But the silver can be spent at shops. Eventually, we'll come across, like, side stalls on the street, and we'll be able to spend our money there to either get new cards, or to refill our mana, or to heal ourselves, or to buy new blueprints. Because this game does have crafting. Occasionally, enemies will drop things like rubies, or ochre, or something like that, and you can combine those to get new cards. And it seems like there are quite a few cards to unlock, if I'm being honest. I've only done a couple of runs. I've only unlocked like 3 cards from the couple runs that I did. That's one thing that's prevailing about this game, is that the progression is very slow. I think what they were trying to do is extend the gameplay out to make the game seem more worthwhile. But in the process of doing that, my experience over the last couple hours has been leveling up factions takes like a really long time. And then on top of that, unlocking cards and things can take quite a long time as well. I think I've leveled up one faction in like 3 or 4 runs, and it may have been like a default that they just gave me as a gimme due to the fact that I was in the tutorial or something like that. It takes quite a bit of work and quite a few runs to level up a faction, and on both of those ends, I would say it's better to have like a tight, concise 20-hour game than it is to have a 60-hour game that has the definitive feel of grind in it, I guess. I think if maybe the combat was a little bit smoother and a little bit more satisfying, you wouldn't mind playing for 60 hours, but the combat is quite clunky compared to other compatriots in the genre, and so that's one of those things where necessarily you may not want to do another run if that clunkiness is the sort of thing that really gets under your skin. Took a little damage right there. We probably want to use our rags, so I'll go ahead and do it so that I heal up. That guy's going to fire some birds at me or something. I need to handle my level ups too. There we go. Took him down. I've got so many level ups to fiddle with. I've been talking to you about like the merits and attributes of the game instead of playing the game. So what I would like to do here is I don't like pushback, so I'm going to burn that.
I need a detective. See what you can find there.
So I burned a card already for a point-blank shotgun blast so that I could level up my basic attack. So that's going to be a passive that makes me hit for 20% more damage. I will probably burn preparedness so that I can buy scavenger. Scavenger makes it so that whenever we score a kill, we get a little armor meter down there that kind of insulates and protects our health before our main health gets hit. Armor comes back really easily in this game. Health does not. And so you kind of want to protect your health. I'm going to burn bayonet stab so that I can pick up pistol shot maybe. But pistol shot, I guess, takes the exact same spot as curve the bullet. Okay, well then I guess we'll burn it then. And then I will take... I don't have any melee skills, so we'll probably burn that. But I'll take the bandages. That way I've got like a healing utility on me as well. Oh, cool, we found a blueprint. Nice. We had some luck right there. Maybe they sped it up in between. Like, this is the problem, is that, like, I did all my prep work on the previous build, and then they dropped the 1.0 because there was no, like, beta to log into or anything else like that. And so they may have actually increased the rate at which the blueprints drop, because I don't really have any recollection of finding a blueprint this early in previous runs. Oh, we got a tile repeat right here. That's a shame already, huh? Oh, I gotta hit one more guy before I can curve the bullet. Targeting can be a little tiny bit weird, so everything in this game auto-targets, like your gunshots and whatnot. You'll see like a red outline kind of around the guy you're sort of facing. It can be a little tiny bit temperamental. That would be my observation about it. Sometimes I feel like it fires the gun exactly at the person I want it to fire at, but if the enemy is clumped up in like a 4-mob blob, it gets a little bit more suspect and seems to have a little bit more trouble deciding exactly who it is that you want. So just be forewarned that if you're firing into a blob of enemies, it may not target the one that you intended. I just kind of keep on firing and slashing and running around until the fight is over anyway, so it hasn't really been that big of a deal. Here's the antique market. There should be stuff to buy here, so we can heal for 50 bucks if we were missing health. We can buy 30 armor if we did not have armor. We can hire a goon over here just in case we wanted a guy to follow us around and punch people in the face. The goons, I mean, the goons are kind of like the mobs in this game. They're a little bit slidey. Their pathfinding is not incredible, but they do kind of create a distraction. How do I get back there? Oh, I can break that little barricade right there. Okay, good to know. I've been instructed, but I did shoot a guy in the face with a gun, so that was pretty cool. Stay out of the way of some of these like AoEs and whatnot. We'll pick up the 8 silver right there, and I think we got to go up. Yeah, the tile generated weird. This happens from time to time too with the procedural generation, is sometimes you'll get this stairway. It's specifically this stairway in the first chapter where like the carts will be right up adjacent to it, or like a fence will be running through it. Happens from time to time, little bit janky. The events of this first chapter don't seem to randomize either. The events of the second chapter do, but the first chapter seems to be more or less the same every time you play through it. You gotta like come to an area, you gotta look for clues, you gotta go fight a bunch of voodoo guys, and then you kill the same boss. There doesn't seem to be an enormous amount of variance there. We got enemies on us now. It's an ambush. That's no bacon tree. It's a hambush. I'll fire a gun at all you nerds. They do have a lot of magic spells flying around, though. There we go. Fire a gun at. Oh, my God. There's so many. Okay. Yep. Don't want to be in that situation. If I can get rid of a couple of the casters, my life would get easier. Oh, that one with the shield's got to go, too. Oh, boy. There we go. Get the gunshot off. Your cooldowns in this game are not time-based. Your cooldowns in this game are based entirely on how many melee default hits you can land on the enemy. Ooh, that was a good shot right there. Did a bunch of damage. Perfect. One more hit. Oh, didn't get the hit. There we go. Now I got the hit. Fire the gun again. This is one of the reasons why I tend to prefer the rogue deck or the ranged deck, is because there's a lot of enemies in this game that spam like a lot of ranged attacks, and getting in there to melee them can be a giant headache sometimes without taking like attritional damage. And so I've learned to love the ranged deck a lot. Like, I like the ranged deck quite a bit because it allows me to strike from a distance without putting myself at ridiculous risk of retaliatory damage.
Situation. I respect that.
Yeah, I respect it too. This gun barrel go blow!
This does not look good. The letter you found, it mentions some kind of ritual they're preparing at the local cemetery. No doubt this ritual relates to the monster terrorizing the city. We must not let them succeed. Quickly now.
I will stop them. The Café de Flore. Oh, this is different. I haven't seen this before. Interesting. Oh, cool. I can steal people's tips off the table or something. We've got a couple level ups to fiddle around with, too. We should probably do something about that. So I would like my ranged skill damage to go up for sure. Bayonet stab is a melee attack. So maybe I will burn preparedness, which will allow me to take bayonet stab as a passive. I will burn you, which will then let me take ranged skill damage. I will burn close quarters, which will then allow me to take melee skill damage. There we go. I tend to stack a lot of passives in this game. I'm a lazy gamer. You will learn that about me, is that the builds that I tend to focus on tend to be very passive heavy. The less buttons I have to push, the better. Like, the ideal Diablo build for me is just a build where I push a button once at the beginning of the level, and then I run through the entire level and kill everything with the maelstrom of AoE that is all around me. That, to me, is like the perfect situation. Anything more than that, too sophisticated. It's taking too much effort to get too little done. You notice an odd woman sitting nearby Anna, vigilantly espying every person who walks nearby. New guard?
We have to keep on pushing.
I thought you two had met since you're running around the city like one of them crazy ones. That's Charlotte Corday, a very dedicated friend to our cause. I'm just happy you have proper safety guarantee. Can I ask what provoked this decision? Apparently my head is worth quite the sum these days, and some folk think they could deliver me to Madame Sluttian. One street brawl later, I'm still safe and sound. Meanwhile, a bunch of tatterdemalions are in the ground. I guess it's the cost of... I've never heard that word in my life. I reckon the crown condemns more than just your pamphlets. Haven't you seen the posters hanging around with me opening my legs? It's incredibly funny to see what Philip comes up with when it comes to me and my privates. Good lord. What is this poster supposed to mean? They're plants growing out... my vagina, and I can only assume that it happens to be a metaphor for me being behind the bliss. Quite a shit show, isn't it? Quite imaginative. I had no idea this was how public discourse is conducted these days. However, with the whole city in complete chaos, I really don't expect anything else. It got me thinking, if they believe that we have anything to do with the bliss, maybe this is really a much bigger problem than we assessed. Max might be right. The bliss will be the final nail to the crown's coffin. They dealt the cards, and now it's your turn, Anna. There you go. We got 250 influence with the rebels. So that brings us up to 650. And that's what I mean is you only get one of these mid-level boosts to your IP with a faction, like once per chapter. So let's say you make it to chapter 2, you'll get like... So let's say chapter 2, you make it to the final boss. In chapter 1, you probably got 250 IP for one person that you met and did like a little storyline segment. And then you got 150 for whatever faction you decided to work with, the church or the tribe. Level 2, you probably got another 250 or 350 for the mid-round event. And then from there, you're going to get like 150 for whoever you decided to side with in the second chapter. So on and so forth. I think these go up as well as you level. No, it might just be 1,000 each time then. But either way, there's about 20 levels for each faction. I'd figure... I mean, I think the thing is you can't really target farm any of the factions. It's all completely and totally random what you get. You can do your best to target farm, but, you know, you get what you get. And that might make it feel a little bit slower too. I don't know. Either way, this is like my 4th run, and I've only leveled up once. So, like, I feel like for roguelite mechanics, you typically want to give the player more breadcrumbs than that. I've always kind of felt like Rogue Legacy had it really tied in, where it was just the perfect amount, where no matter what, even if a run went really poorly, you could unlock, like, an extra 20 HP or something. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. 50 silver. Wow, we're kind of, like, balling out right now. We've got, like, mad money. Oh, there's another antique market, too. Good. We should almost be at the boss. Restore my mana. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. More mana it would save me from having to burn cards next time around. Bottle of moonshine, basic attack. I'll take the basic attack boost. Don't really care about the bottles of moonshine. There's a doctor's office over there just in case you wanted to get healed and you've got, like, bad health. We've also got troubled apple. There are things that are not slotted into your decks that you will kind of find as treasures when you're searching around the streets. Like kind of generalized things that can't be in your deck, but they do come up from time to time.
We must not allow them to summon this monster. Bring it upon them.
Okay. I'll go fight some guys. Wow, that's a big hit. I didn't expect that to do that much damage. All right, now the boss is here. We got to get out of her way. Oh, she's different. I just fought her a couple times yesterday, and she's got new abilities now. Interesting. She's got like some big beefy boy combos she can throw out there. There we go. Try to break her armor first. Wow, there's like fart gas everywhere. Good lord. All right, give me my silver. As you can see, the pathfinding sometimes is not so great in this game. It could absolutely be better. There we go. Give her a few more of those right there. That health bar is moving. She's got another phase too, I think, unless they change that in the 1.0 as well. Pathfinding again. She's getting stuck. For like a boss is supposed to be like a cool thing that you get near the end, you know what I mean? To like show off your skills. And for the boss to like get stuck on a wall is kind of a bummer to me. Like it sort of like detracts, I guess, from some of the fanfare of actually having made it to a boss. We're being chased by a bunch of doppelgangers now. Ow! And also poison hits. Beautiful. I gotta kill somebody? So if somebody could die, that'd be the best. What you got for me, lady? Trying to move around all of her poison, but she's got the area poisoned up pretty good. There's a nice hit. Oof, I'm running out of road. Oh, good, we're spamming bullets now, too. Goody. I actually made her fight harder since the last time I did it yesterday. I actually took damage here. I flawlessed her every single time I fought her the last time I played against this boss, and they've actually kind of smoothed out her rotation a little bit. It'd be a lot more threatening if she wasn't getting stuck on stuff all the time, but they did smooth out her rotation from the last time I fought her in the previous patch, like 0.84 or whatever it was. There you go. That's our first boss down, and then we move on to the next chapter. And we find out which of the 4 factions is rubbing elbows with the other 4 factions randomly, and we pick a side and we do it all over again. Oh, we got 250 right there. They raised it. It was 150 for the last 2 days when I was trying out the game. Good. Well, that's good, actually. That assuages one of my concerns about the game, is that they needed to be a little bit less stingy with progressive elements, so that's good. They raised it by 100, which I think is fair. That actually brings it up to where if you have a good run and you target your farm, you can probably level up like once per run. So that's at least something. Every single time you go to a new chapter, you are going to get a curse. Our curse is the Curse of Living Armor. Enemies will regenerate armor if you ignore them for too long. So there are different ones. I had one that made zombies come back every time you kill somebody, like zombies rise from the grave and you gotta kill the zombies, so on and so forth.
I should have seen this coming. You always held a grudge against me, Anna. Was it envy that people favored me over you?
Don't make this personal. Honestly, it's quite pathetic. You and your ego, big enough to fill the whole Versailles.
Then help me understand this. How is killing innocent people supposed to restore balance and bring prosperity? You are better than that, Anna. I know you. You're angry, but you're not a criminal.
You knew me, but you don't know me, Philip. I am the voice of the people, and people do not judge in the same way as courts of law. They do not hand down sentences. They throw thunderbolts.
I think that you want to rule the city. You're obsessed with power. Admit it. Let's do it together then. It's about time these old pricks have finally stepped down. Let me help you.
Rule? Together with you? I'd rather burn alive, dear prince. Be buried with my revolt. You are a populist, a little man. You tried to protect the wrong people.
Oh, please. You're looking for an excuse to burn a few houses and let off some steam, girl. And by the way, you'd be surprised how similar we are, Anna. Don't forget that your blood is every bit as blue as mine.
You allowed this to happen, Philip. Letting people like Princesse de Lamballe parade in fancy dresses while people starved at her feet. You won't stop us.
I won't, but I know someone else will. Princess will not die today.
I'm gonna side with the guy because he's got a borzoi, and borzois are cute. I'm not really like, I'm not picking based on ideology. I'm picking based on the fact that he has a borzoi, and I think I like dogs. I'm a dog person, that's pretty much it. And so as you can see, the enemies change depending on which faction you decide to fight against. There are 4 different selections of enemies. The church has their own characters, the bandits have their own characters. The crown has like guys that are wearing kind of like blue coat uniforms, like the Napoleonic French military outfits. And then we already fought the voodoo guys, so you saw what they look. Don't shoot guns at me, bro. I'll shoot guns back at you. Ow! Listen, I will bayonet the hell out of you, bro. Please die. Thank you. Woof, I got a little scuffied right there. I had like a rough day. Like, the game is just such an odd... It's such a odd title. Like, as I've been playing it, and depending on the abilities that I unlock, like, we haven't gotten any of the abilities that make you feel a lot more mobile and move around yet, but like, as you fill out your deck, the combat does get a bit more fluidity and does feel a little bit more frenetic and nicer. It's just, it constantly alternates between just that feeling of clunkiness and also like really cool. Like there's one ability where you launch yourself backwards to the edge of the screen and fire your pistol at the same time, and it's so fluid the way that they have it implemented. Like it feels really good. But that's like this entire game. For like every good thing, there's another thing that doesn't like feel super good to me. And so I honestly, the game's sitting at like a 7 out of 10 right now on Steam. I think that's super fair. That's actually probably exactly where the game should be at. It's got a really good soundtrack. It's got really good voice acting. The premise and the storyline are really good. I like the deck building portion of the game. Like, I like the fact that it adds curses. I like the conversations in between the characters. It's just that the fighting, to me, just always had kind of this weird, clunky feeling to it. It keeps getting better each time they patch, and once you've got a lot more of the mobility abilities as well, it feels pretty good. I think the game is playable largely because they've got the dodge feeling very, very nice. So even though the auto attack doesn't feel super great on any of the characters, really, in my opinion, that I've played so far, the dodge allows you to break animations at exactly the right point for making a dodge feel good and satisfying, so they got that locked in. So I don't think the combat is going to be a deal breaker for everybody. In fact, I think some people may not feel it at all, just due to the fact that some abilities are very fluid and the dodge feels quite nice in this game. And so I don't know, like, I'm really on the fence about this one. Like I said, for every good thing, there's a thing that I'm kind of like, huh. I don't really raise an eyebrow at it, but I can admit that it doesn't feel quite as good as it could. And so it's one of those games that's really, really hard to put your foot down about and be like yes or no on. If you're like a French Revolution enthusiast and you wanted to try a game that has a very unique premise and you don't mind some clunkiness in your combat, you'll probably be good to go with this one. If you're like me, though, where you really, really crave the fluidity of combat in certain games like Moonlighter or Hyperlight Drifter or things like Hades, like the games that are sort of renowned for having ridiculously smooth, amazing combat, you will feel a little bit of the clunkiness from time to time while playing this game, mostly around the basic auto attacks. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what is worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were messing around with a title called Liberte, which I actually think is very novel and interesting for the little things about it that, you know, definitely stood out that I didn't like. I still think it's a really novel concept, and it's a game that I desperately want to play just because I don't think I've seen a game with a premise this strong in a really long time. The idea of eldritch gods manipulating a city and making factions fight each other, and like zombies are rising from their grave in between people fighting each other. Kind of cool stuff, I guess, that I've never really seen before. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games. Today we were taking a look at Liberte. Tomorrow we will be taking a look at something else. Hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not this is going to be a title for you, or whether or not you wanted to wait for a sale or something like that. I will see you all tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet. But up until then, it's time for me to go. Bye folks, and take care.